This was one of the last moments he saw them alive. His wife and 2 daughters smiling at a soccer game in Indonesia, just moments before they were killed in the crush of a stampede, one of the world's worst stadium disasters. Now, Andi Hariyanto says he will never watch a match again.
In my dream, everything is normal, and what happened feels like a lie. It's the same thing during an afternoon nap. Whenever I wake up, I realize they're no longer here.
Watching their local team was a special outing for Andi's family, including his 2-year-old son. But as they sat up in the stands to support, the overcrowded stadium descended into chaos. These became the scenes down below. Police firing tear gas to disperse agitated fans who'd poured onto the pitch at the end of the match. Though they stayed in the stands, Andi, who was holding his son in his arms, got separated from his wife and daughters. Spluttering and stumbling through the tear gas, he managed to get to medics for help.
I never thought it would end up like this. All of a sudden, there was tear gas fired, and I felt so much pain in my eyes. Then my wife asked me to hold our youngest, our son. And I was really sure they were all behind me. So I kept looking for a way out. Then I dropped my son onto the stadium's fence. I couldn't think about my wife at the time. I had to save my son, no matter what.
When the smoke cleared, Andi began to search, turning over victims who'd been trampled or suffocated as they tried to flee through exits, some of which turned out to be locked. Authorities have put the latest death toll at more than 130 people. 33 of the victims were children.
My wife and daughters were nowhere to be found. I kept asking around. Then they told me all the victims had been brought to Kipanjen Hospital and Wawa Hospital. But before I went there, I kept searching through all the dead bodies. Then I found my daughters, Natasha and Naila. I was struggling to find their mother. When I looked around the stadium, I saw all the dead bodies being transported to the hospital on a truck.
Andi says tear gas should never have been fired. FIFA bans the use of crowd control gas at matches, and an Indonesian police watchdog has said some officers wrongly used tear gas inside the stadium where there were no orders to do so. The Indonesian government is handing out 50 million rupiah, roughly $3,200, in compensation to the families of each of the victims.
I will never watch soccer again. Now I can only think of my son, and I have no time for anything else. Now what is important is how to get food tomorrow. I just want to be a good person, that's all.